everybody. Is this mic on? Can everyone hear okay? Great. And the live stream, are we ready to go? Yeah, let's start. Thank you. Welcome everybody to the North of Tyne Combined Authority formal cabinet meeting, which is also our annual meeting. And doesn't everybody just love an AGM? The viewing figures will be through the roof. So we're here in North Tyneside Council. Thank you very much to North Tyneside for hosting us today. There is one apology for absence, Councillor Wearmouth, and as I've received no notifications of any declarations of interest. Minutes of the previous meeting. Can somebody agree that they're a true record, please? Agreed. Thank you. And that takes us on to the appointments. This being the annual meeting, a large part of it is going through procedures rather than necessarily the investments we're making. So they've been set out in there in the public documents, a whole list of people for who's on different transport authorities, things like that. Rather than reading them all out, I understand there are a few amendments, so I'll pass over to John Softly, the monitoring officer.
Thank you, Chair. As you say, this is the standard report to each annual meeting where Cabinet agrees the allocation of Cabinet portfolios and various appointments and the schedule of meetings. As you said, Chair, there's a couple of amendments to flag to the appendices to the report. At Appendix 1, in terms of the membership of Cabinet, Councillor Janet Hunter is listed as a substitute member. She is to be replaced with Councillor Peter Early. And then at Appendix 3B, the membership of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, Councillor Early is to be replaced with Councillor Louise Marshall as a member, and Councillor Matthew Thurlaway will replace Councillor Louise Marshall as a substitute member. So, Chair, the report sets out all of the appointments and, Chair, also the decision of the Mayor to appoint a Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. So again, rather than reading out dozens and dozens of names there and different things, if anybody's interested, then please do look them up in the reports pack. And I would like to nominate Mayor Norma Redfern to continue as Deputy Mayor, who's been doing it for the past 3 years. So you know the ropes, Norma.
Thank you very much, Chairman.
Right, so there's a whole recommendation. Can I just ask the Cabinet to consider them as written down and basically thank you. So that takes us on to the next item, which is scrutiny annual report. We have with us so, Catherine, I hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hill. Can you hear me all? Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me to present the overview of the scrutiny. There is a vital check and balance how we select must thank the officers for their support. Making sure that effective governance is interacting and grateful to all the Combined Authority Cabinet members and Mayor Driscoll for giving up their time to meet with our committee and provide an update on their portfolio area of work and answer any questions. I would also like to thank the officers from our constituent local authorities and partner organisations for their work and support. Scrutiny at a combined authority level is different to the look and feel in a local authority due to its geography and its strategic nature. But where it remains the same is effective cross-party work, engagement of senior officers and members, and a genuine willingness to be open and transparent about what we do and why we do it, and continue the economic growth mission to achieve a dynamic and more inclusive economy one that brings together people and opportunities to create vibrant communities and a high quality of life, narrowing inequalities and ensuring that all residents have a stake in our region's future. Next year, as we approach the transition towards the proposed new North East Mereora Combined Authority, I believe the committee are ready and willing to play its part in this process to ensure any future changes benefit all our communities. And I'm looking forward to the year ahead and recommend this report to Cabinet. Thank you.
Catherine, thank you very much. Yes, scrutiny in a combined authority, you make a very good point. It is different. We're not only geographically diverse, we are a cross-party combined authority. We have the North East LEP, we have our voluntary and community sectors all involved. I'm quite enjoy the relationship that I've had with you and previous chairs of scrutiny, of that regular giving you a little bit of notice of what's coming up, having a chat, so that it's not this adversarial inquisition. I think that actually leads to better decision making. Thank you very much for your comments there and your work as chair of scrutiny. Unless anybody else has anything to add? No. So we recommended to note the comments. Obviously, we do that. And just to note, I just want to talk a little bit here for a second on the use of the urgent decision power. Just to explain that, sometimes things come in that need a very rapid decision. This particular one it's written out in the papers there, but just so that everybody knows, the Chief Executive does consult with the Mayor and Cabinet about this. It's just that there isn't time to organise a meeting. It's not something that's done arbitrarily. So Cabinet notes those things. Someone gives a nod. Yes, please. Thank you. Right, so North East devolution, next steps. North East devolution, as we all know, is a major milestone for our region. It's been something we've been spending a lot of time working on, and this is to run through specifically the protocols of what comes next. So I'll hand over to John Softly.
Thank you, Chair. The report is to provide an update to Cabinet on the progress to establish a new mayoral combined authority for the North East region. It follows on from similar reports which were approved by all 7 local authority cabinets last week, and NECA, or the North East Combined Authority, is considering a similar report today. The report sets out the results of the consultation exercise that was recently undertaken. You will see from the report that the responses to that consultation were supportive of the proposals, and so the next stage is for the authorities to submit the consultation summary to the Secretary of State, who will consider whether to make the statutory order needed to create the new combined authority. If the new mayoral combined authority is to be established, both the existing combined authorities, north of Tyne and NECA, will need to be abolished, and therefore the Mayor and Cabinet are being asked to endorse these proposals and consent to the making of the legal order to bring those changes into effect. As set out in the report, it is intended that the new mayoral combined authority will build and expand on the work that the North of Tyne Combined Authority has carried out to date, and there is clearly a huge amount of work going on with the respective authorities to manage those transitional arrangements. So, Chair, if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, John. Lucy.
Thank you. I'm not sure, Chair, if this is the right time, but I'll take the opportunity just to say how very much I, as Chair of the North East Local Enterprise Partnership, on behalf of our board, support this, and how pleased we are that we've got to this position. If you think about risks, the risk of not doing this absolutely outweighs the benefits of it. And as you know, the business community has been fully committed behind this for some time. The LEP continues to work very closely with the business membership organisations and so on. So we really welcome this. And I also just wanted to pay tribute, Chair, to the team behind you who are keeping the show on the road with all the hard work that's going on. And already we are seeing the benefits of teams coming together. If I think about the areas of expertise we have in the LEP, in NECA and north of Tyne coming together on issues that are so important to the North East, like energy, seeing the way that those teams are coming together and looking to the future is really commendable, because it's very easy for your head to just sink down and get distracted by the mire of it all. But actually, all I speak to and work with in this context are very excited about the future and the opportunities it brings. And it is very much business as usual and the rest in this transition year. So I just did not want to miss the opportunity to say how very, very welcome this is. And congratulations, and hopefully we get it signed off as soon as we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy. I can't see anyone else indicating. This has obviously been a journey. We had the North of Tyne established. I think we've done a remarkable job. Indeed, the civil servants who did our Gateway review used the word remarkable in the report of how well we've done. And a civil servant to use the word remarkable is in itself remarkable. So thank you, and on behalf of the entire staff team, of which I'm obviously not a member, but I know that they will appreciate your kind words on that, Lucy, so thank you. Just for a little bit of clarity for anybody who's watching, or for how this gets reported, it's a specific legal term to say abolished. The programmes that the North of Tyne is running that have a lifespan beyond May next year will continue to run. The staff team will still be in place. Nobody's going to lose their jobs. There will be continuity. We will be expanding, covering a bigger footprint, bringing in Transport North East, bringing in people from the LEP, Invest North East England. So this is a growth rather than anything else. But all of the things that we've put in place will roll over. And I think that's very important. And the amount of work that's going into this behind the scene is above and beyond the call of duty, I think, from many. So thank you to everybody who's been working on that. Shall we move then to the recommendation? Because this is quite a big one, isn't it? You know, we've come together, we've done this, and we're saying, yeah, right, next step now, we're moving on beyond being the North of Tyne. So we know the content of the reports. Now, this is the key one. Do we endorse the proposal to establish a new mayoral combined authority for the North East region? Drum roll. We do. Yay. There we are. That's the big news story. We've signed that off. Agree that the North of Tyne will be abolished as a necessary step. As explained, that's a specific legal term, which, again, I can hopefully at least see someone nodding. Yep, thank you. And we do agree, therefore, to consent to the order, and we authorise the Chief Exec to take the necessary steps to facilitate that. And it is worth pointing out, of course, that the new North East Mayoral Combined Authority does not legally exist and will not legally exist for quite some time yet. We do continue as the North of Tyne to deliver the things we were elected to deliver. Thank you, everybody. So that takes us on to item 8, our corporate plan. It's necessarily a shorter corporate plan because we are anticipating that we won't be here in 3 years' time. Nevertheless, work does not stop. There's so much in the region needs to be addressed, and we are addressing it. So I'll hand over to Henry to present his report.
Chair, thank you. Hi, everybody. So I'm really pleased to introduce this, our corporate plan for the next financial year. It's called Working Together, which is the title of the corporate plan every year for good reason. And it sets out how we as a team intend to deliver on the strategic direction that's been set by our Mayor and Cabinet for the next financial year. The plan follows the usual format. You'll recognise that from previous years, but with a bit of a difference, as the Mayor said, in that this year's plan is for 23-24, for what is in effect the final year of the North of Tyne term. And the plan itself sets out, as you would expect, the vision, a snapshot of the evidence base that underpins our work and the way in which we work together across 7 portfolios, which range, as you know, from job skills, culture, rural, clean energy, innovation and investment. So a big spread of work there. On page 16 of the plan, you'll find a snapshot of the financial picture. So in effect, funding in and funding out for the coming year, and the impact that that is making now and the impact that's projected for the future. And we know from a positive Gateway review outcome that we're delivering well as a team on what the region promised in its 2018 devolution deal. We also have in there noting great places to work status for the CA, which I think is a testament to the staff team and the collaboration around that too. So in the report, I say a little bit about why I think that is the case and really emphasising the strength of collaboration. through this combined authority that makes this happen between the Cabinet, between the team, our local authority teams, our LEP and our wider partners. That is completely fundamental to all of this. Nobody delivers anything alone, and it will be really central to the transition that we're all embarking on now as a North East region. You'll see also in the plan clarity of purpose and a sense of clear mission, a good evidence base that underpins our work, delivering clear programmes of investment with, importantly, really strong cross-cabinet oversight of those work programmes and being clear why we're doing this and who this is for. Our communities, our businesses, our places, really trying to build a platform really for what comes next, as has just been said. So I've asked for 3 things from the team this year, which is reflected in the introduction. The first is around making sure we've got no let up in delivery, as Lucy said really well. It's really important that we continue to deliver business as usual, all of us, to keep learning and developing and help each other to manage change. So we will have a year of change, and I think that's something to be embraced if we manage it well for the family of organisations involved. And then lastly, to keep driving that impact through collaboration, because we know that's how this works. We know that's the way of delivering impact, and we're going to need a lot more of that as we embark on that wider North East journey. So finally, from me, a really big thanks to the the officer teams at north of Tyne, to our partners, local authorities. This is a cast of thousands really that do this, including our universities, our voluntary sector, our businesses. It's important to put on record our thanks as the North of Tyne team for the wider group of people that make all of this happen. And we're looking forward to making the next year one that will be full of challenges, but also really positive, in which we can build a real platform for the region. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Henry. Yeah, years of real challenges. We've had a few of them, haven't we, with the pandemic since we were set up. It's not been the most stable of times. Has anybody got any questions on the corporate plan? Or comments? No, thank you. Well, it's a very good corporate plan. I think there's a lot in there. If we look at what we've achieved, we have passed our halfway point on job creation. That target that was set by central government, 10,000 jobs over 30 years. The last time I looked at the figures, it was 5,049. They update all the time. And I think there's over, let me get the number right. Write this down. 3,268 people already getting a pay packet as a result of our investments. And that's figures, some of those figures are a year old by the time they come through. So I think that's a big deal in terms of delivering and everything else we've done. So thank you for that report. And I'm assuming Cabinet is going to endorse that. Thank you. Right, that takes us on to item 9, the Equalities Objectives Update, and I'll hand straight over to Karen.
Thank you. Just that team working to make that happen. Thank you, Chair. Sorry. So, the Equalities Objectives Update. Much has been said about levelling up, about the North-South divide, and about the enormous gap. And about the enormous gap in resources between the North East and more affluent parts of the country. But we must remember that while there are huge disparities between our region and others, there are also huge disparities within our region. Not just geographically, but demographically also. The challenges we face, the opportunities, and the progress we've made, these haven't always been spread equally across our communities. And each year I provide an update on our performance against our equalities objectives. These objectives are our blueprint as we strive to build a more inclusive economy, helping us to design policies, programmes and projects that not only consider but actively address different experiences of exclusion, discrimination and disadvantage. We know that progress that leaves people behind is not really progress at all, and the first 2 of our 5 equalities objectives look not outwards but inwards, to ourselves. We cannot expect others to champion equality, diversity and inclusion if we don't practice what we preach. Our first objective is to ensure that we at North Tyne Combined Authority have a diverse team that reflects the demography of our area. And I'm pleased to tell you that over the last year we've employed considerably more women and people from non-white ethnic backgrounds than is typical across our region. While it appears that disabled people are underrepresented across the organisation, and that is something that we will look further into, but we do know that it's more complicated than that, with disabled colleagues having potentially been discriminated against in the past and not always feeling comfortable about declaring their disability. And while rates of representation are important on their own, they say very little about who we are as an organisation, about our values, about how we live them. So our second equalities objective is about staff confidence, ensuring that they feel included and that collectively we have zero tolerance for any form of discrimination. So I'm delighted to tell Cabinet today that the Combined Authority has been honoured with the Great Place to Work award, with survey results showing that 100% of staff believe they're treated fairly, regardless of their gender, race or sexual orientation. And this says it all, and I congratulate the senior team for these results. We strive to lead by example, to foster and spread a culture of respect, to play our part in tackling long-standing and emerging inequalities, preventing people from fulfilling their potential and leading the lives that they could and should. We've come out of an extraordinary pandemic and into a crushing cost of living crisis. Last year, research revealed that unemployment rates amongst residents from ethnic minority backgrounds were at their highest levels in the last decade. And this takes me to our third objective, to increase the number of people from non-white backgrounds, along with women, deaf and disabled people and single parents, in our jobs and skills programme by 2% over 2 years. We're making great progress towards this, and since 2021 we've increased the number of learners with a learning disability or difference by 5%. We've increased the number of learners from black and minority communities by 26%. 2 years ago, our region overtook London in having the highest rates of poverty in the country. Almost 2 in 5 babies, children and young people are growing up in poverty. 2 in 5. The majority of these are from working families, and so we need to reduce regional rates of in-work poverty, focusing specifically on women, deaf and disabled residents, and those with black and minoritised community backgrounds. Poverty is messy, it's complicated, and sometimes intractable, but we're not sitting idly by in our authorities or in the Combined Authority. We've now had more than 100 employers covering more than 50,000 local employees signing up to our Good Work Pledge. We're the first Combined Authority to launch a Child Poverty Intervention Fund. We're working with schools to help combat child poverty at the gates and in the classrooms. And in-work poverty will be the focus of our employability plan. As urgent as these problems are, we cannot rush in like a bull in a china shop with well-intentioned but ill-designed top-down solutions. We work in partnership, we create connections, we are inclusive. Which takes me to our fifth equality objective, that 15% of our products, programmes and projects are co-designed or co-produced. This means residents are properly consulted and engaged. We do this in different ways, including through online platforms like Nextdoor and Commonplace. Our wellbeing framework and the equalities assemblies are both good examples of co-production, how we meaningfully engage residents and community groups at different stages of design, development and delivery. Of our 136 total projects, a minimum of 18% are co-designed and co-produced, and that's despite the short timescales we often have to work with from government. As a partnership organisation, we collaborate closely with our local authorities, our stakeholders, partners in our communities, and I'm confident that we'll continue to increase co-design and co-production over the next year. We know we don't have all the answers when it comes to equality and diversity, and we're learning all the time, as we should be. We remain vigilant in recognising and opposing discrimination and abuse, and strive to ensure that our language doesn't offend or dehumanise the communities we serve. We should accept new definitions of discrimination, as well as explicit commitment to ensure that our language, our actions and our behaviours do not reinforce stereotypes that limit people's abilities to define themselves and their identities. We want the north of Tyne, indeed the whole region, to be welcoming and truly inclusive, where everyone can contribute to share in and benefit from our prosperity, our culture and our community life. I'm happy to recommend this report to Cabinet, Mayor.
Thank you, Karen, for that excellent speech. Are you indicating there, Noah?
Yes, I would just like to congratulate you on the amazing work you've carried out with our officers to be quite as. For quite a long time, many of our residents in the area felt left behind, have little hope. There was very little light at the end of the tunnel. But I have to say, you and the colleagues and our officers have actually done some excellent work. Still a great deal to do, but you brought it to our attention. More importantly, you've actually done something about it. So thank you very much indeed, much appreciated, much appreciated.
Yeah.
thank you. That's really kind of you. I appreciate those words. But I do have to say that it's the officer team who do the work and the delivery, and I am incredibly grateful to them. And I'm grateful for every suggestion and piece of work, an idea that you go to with them about including different cohorts of people and different parts of our communities, be that geographically or by identity. Every suggestion that I've ever given has been taken and run away with and expanded on and looked into and programmes worked up. So I'm incredibly grateful to the staff team. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to echo that. Obviously, I, as the Mayor, meet with the staff team. All of the different staff teams regularly run through what they're doing, the details of them, and feed in what I see when I'm out and about. We were talking about the Child Poverty Prevention Programme. I was in the school yesterday. 22 languages spoken in one primary school, or the families of those in that primary school. And the teachers there, they were astonishingly enthusiastic about the education improvement programs we're running, and it couldn't have been more amazing, because I happened to be there with a national journalist, and you go along with the journalist, and you're in their hands of the people. You're not prepped them, and when they're waxing lyrical about the good work we've done, it's actually really quite encouraging. Well done to everyone, and particularly about the co-design and some of the employability work that we do. People, I don't know how often cabinet members actually look necessarily, or very busy people, and see some of the reports that come out in the press. But these are people who've been struggling for years to get a foot on the ladder with all sorts of things. I've spoken to people who've been victims of domestic violence. I'm not going to name names. I'm going to protect their privacy, obviously. People who, one chap who he'd been a lorry driver for 20 years in his 40s and has a seizure. Oomph, that's it. He's no longer able to earn a living because he can't drive. And the programs are helping these people get new jobs. It really is making a huge difference. So it's very proud of what we've done. And on the, if you like, perhaps the figures, and I'm always prefer to think of the people rather than the statistics, but our programs are adult education programs. 57% of the beneficiaries are women, 45% are non-white, and 21% are, I self-identify as disabled or having neurodiversity. I mean, that is genuine progress on equalities. So well done, the entire team, and all our partners who help us deliver this. So I think that's really, really good work. So anyway, Cabinet is recommended to accept those, and after everything that's said, I think you really need to. And actually lots of nodding. Thank you, that's approved. Hand over to Carl to talk about our investments. Carl.
Thank you, Mayor. We often focus on politics and microcosms. We have to remember today we're in the midst of events that are transforming our world, not least a war, an international energy crisis, the raging debate on AI, and a climate emergency. Nevertheless, as a Cabinet, we are determined to deliver for the future and for our residents, for our communities and the next generation. We must acknowledge that trust in politicians has never been so low. From swimming pools to Sweden for speeding fines and the ongoing saga of parties during COVID, this is our challenge. Because if people don't trust politicians, we have real issues. By this time next year, our region will confront the biggest choice for a generation. A choice between parties, yes, but more importantly, a choice for a direction for the North East. Some of us, like myself, will not make the transition to the new authority, but all of us must come together as politicians, communities, institutions, businesses, academia, and unify with a single purpose to make this region better for everyone. In the last 18 months, the combined authorities had to deal with the faced economic choices we haven't faced since the 1930s. And times of great challenge mean choices of great consequence. So let me share with you a little bit of choices we are making. Replacing the Northumberland line, level crossing at Newsham, invested in the fantastic project Northumberland County Council has been pushing for many years that really will be transformational for our communities alongside that line. Invest in a project for economically inactive people to overcome barriers to work. The best single way out of poverty is through work, and if we can get those people into work, that'll be incredibly helpful. Targeting innovation and the commercialisation support for businesses. Supply chain growth and productivity improvements in offshore wind, which will be a real key sector for our region in the future. And rural business growth, Towns and High Street programme, and community projects, all various investments in this area. We did this together. When I say together, we have a purpose in our politics regardless of our party. Our collective desire for social and economic change and an irreversible shift to the balance of wealth and outcome and power for all. No single person around this table can take the credit for all the wonderful work we have done in this combined authority. Progress cannot be measured just by the passion of one of us, but as the way we work together to make the lives better for the people of this region. If by our actions we improve the condition of one person who is struggling, we've achieved something important. We must always measure our success by what happens to individual lives, not in the abstract, or by repeating numbers of stats about what we've achieved, but one home, one street, and one community at a time. We are a team. In a few short months, we will create a new team alongside our colleagues south of the Tyne, and we will do it together. What we share in our common belief is something bigger than ourselves. The projects that are recommended today are our choices. They are varied, they achieve different outcomes, they target a range of economic and social goals, but all are about our collective leadership of this authority and our commitment to the next. I recommend this report to Cabinet. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Carl. There's a few things in there specifically. There's a lot about the UK Shared Prosperity Fund, but also there's a delegation of £5 million into the Northumberland Line economic corridor, or from our economic corridor allocation to support the delivery of the Northumberland Line, which is something that we've been campaigning for since long before I was mayor, work coming through Northumberland County Council. But this is a real cross-party. This is a real success of devolution and working together as a combined authority, because it goes through North Tyneside and we'll integrate in Northumberland Park. We'll go through Manners and Central Station in Newcastle, and there's planning across all of that, there's delivery across all of that, there's the homes and the buildings and the jobs that will come with that. There's the various negotiations and arguments we've had with ministers to make sure that we actually got the money. But I think a hearty well done to Northumberland under Glenn's leadership, which have really led on this. So well done. And I don't know if anybody has anything else to say. And yeah, Glenn.
I would like to. Am I on? Yeah. I would like to kind of underline how important that particular piece of funding was, because it allowed us to move much quicker with the rollout of the Northumberland Line, which we hope to see up and running within the next 12 months, carrying people backwards and forwards, beyond the boundaries and across the country. And it's incredibly important, not just for the sake of our environment, the amount of CO2 that will be saved by encouraging people to take the train rather than getting snarled up in Gosforth with the cycle lanes and those bollards that we all love. But better than that, it'll carry people in comfort and convenience. And so it's a great development. One I'm very proud of, and I'm very, very pleased and grateful to North of Tyne and yourself for helping to contribute to make this a success.
Thank you, Glenn. And I think we have a bit of a protocol about not commenting on local authorities outside of our area, and let's stick to that. Thank you. So unless it's actually about the report, these are specific, actually significant and substantive decisions here. So we do know the progress as written in item 1 there, but we have to authorise the £5 million of the investment fund for the Newsham Road Bridge, and the Shared Prosperity Fund of £13,353,390 project approvals. And I can see some nods there, so they are approved. Sorry, I didn't see you indicating there, Lucy.
I'm happy to make some general comments, Chair, when you finish going through your proposals, because it was general in response to Carl's words.
Yeah, please do, Carl.
Carl opened up the opportunity for me just to talk a little bit about the way we work. And you very rightly identified, Carl, that it isn't about the individual at all. It is about the collective effort. And as we move to different and new ways of working in, we hope, the larger combined authority, I think we have real opportunities to build on the strengths of what we have already seen as working together. And of course, I'm going to promote the way of working that the LEP has championed for all those years. And that is, as our leaders know around here, is this strength of collaboration. So not only have we seen great political leadership, but we have seen leadership from the vice-chancellors of the universities in our area. We've seen leadership from the principals of FE colleges, and we've seen the voice of the voluntary sector. And of course, underpinning all of that, the LEP is a business-led organisation. And I talked earlier about how we want to work together, but the way that has worked so well, I think, is something that we must build on as we create our new future in a bigger devolution deal. And I know that all of those parties will say the key to success will to be having that collaborative way of working and a strategic economic plan. Again, building on the areas of strength that we have done over the last 10 years. But I was really just very moved by Carl's comments that this is a way of working that we do together and collaboratively, and we've got a great track record in doing that. Thank you.
Thanks, Lucy. Good points. Norma.
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to say that to thank the leaders of the three authorities for deciding some time ago, a few years ago, to come to work together. It was a big decision. It wasn't easy at that particular time. I remember going out to lots of people and trying to sort of have a conversation to persuade them this was a good idea. And at that time, there was the campaign against devolution, and it wasn't the right thing to do. But those three leaders at that particular time took that decision and went forward. And I think those are the things that we've achieved in North of the Tyne, to be quite honest, has proved to people how important it was to take that decision then. And I think it's been easier to move the 7 authorities together because of the success the North of the Tyne have had. So a huge thanks to everyone who took that decision some years ago. And I think what is excellent about the way we've been working, we've been able to identify that we put the people first. And that's why we're in our positions today. That's why people put the crosses in boxes, that we put the people first. But we can identify our successes, where our people have benefited. So working together is really, really being successful. And I hope to continue that way. Thank you, Chair.
Good. Thank you very much, Norma. So those specific recommendations we did a minute ago. Moving on to item 11. So this is the outturn position. It wouldn't be an AGM, would it, if there wasn't a lot of accounts? So I'll hand over to Janice.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this report is the outturn statement for the year ended 31st of March 23. It's an estimate of our year-end position subject to external audit, which will hopefully begin in the not too distant future. Just some highlights from the outturn. There's no surprises in the report. The outturn is more or less where we expected it to be when we reported earlier this year at the end of Q3. Some key highlights include the investment fund achieving close to £34 million worth of spend in 22-23, which is our most significant spend to date. And I think that's a reflection of, I guess, getting through the impact of COVID alongside that careful management of over-programming that the authority has taken to manage risk in terms of delivery and spend. That said, we still have to monitor very closely the impact of inflation and the pressures that brings to our programmes and projects, and indeed that continuing challenge around access to resources, whether people or materials, etc. In terms of capital, Cabinet will be reminded that we secured over 15 million of late capital funding from the department towards mid-March, I think it was, with quite a significant challenge to get that money spent. We've managed to achieve 3 million in 22-23, sorry. But we know that the balance will come in the early part of this financial year. Similarly, UK SPF and Multiply kind of late approvals and progressing with those programmes, so slightly behind on spend in 22-23, but we fully expect that to catch up certainly during the rest of this financial year and up to March 25 as required. Brownfield housing, £1 million of spend in 22-23, which is probably a reflection, we think, of in previous years we had more shovel-ready projects available at the start. And I think what we're seeing now are programs and projects are requirement a bit more early investment and development to get them to that ready state. And obviously, again, areas recovering from COVID and the impact of inflationary costs, etc., following through. But again, we fully expect to recover that spend over 23, 24 and up to March 25 to ensure we don't return any funding back to the department. Adult education budget and boot camps continue to deliver well during the year and will continue into next year. And included in the report is the Treasury Management Strategy Statement, which has no issues that the Mayor and Cabinet need to be concerned around. I think just one matter that I do need to raise with the Chair and Cabinet is the publication of accounts. So the report sets out our statutory requirement to meet the 31st of May deadline to produce the draft financial statements. We haven't achieved that for a range of reasons to do with the impact of delay in completing 21, 22 and 2021 and the capacity that's been taken to continue to address those issues. We did respond to a consultation earlier this year on the bringing back the timetable to the 31st of May, which I know myself and many treasurers argued that just wasn't going to be feasible, and indeed there are a number of authorities who haven't achieved that 31st of May deadline. We are still working through quality assurance in the accounts, wanting to be sure that when we get to audit we have a good standard of report to give. And I issued a statement on the 31st of May that set out why it is we have a delay with the accounts. So Cabinet were to note that. The report includes the LEP and Invest North East outturn as part of the paperwork, and happy to recommend to Cabinet all 12 recommendations in terms of approving the draft outturn position.
Thanks, Janice. I know how much work goes into doing all this with unit teams. Thank you for that. Does anybody have any questions on any of this before I move the recommendations? In any case, rather than reading them all out, do we just note all of the things written in this section? Thank you. And again, now we go.
Thank you, Chair. So I have two parts to this report. And first, if we'll deal with the year ended March 2021. We completed the draft statement of accounts some time ago for March 21 year end. But Cabinet will recall that at the last Cabinet meeting I updated with progress around some of the technical aspects with regards to infrastructure accounting that was delaying the final sign-off of those accounts. I'm pleased to say we are now in a position where the national approach to infrastructure assets has been agreed. We've made the recommended changes and adjustments to the disclosure. Our external auditors are happy with what we have done and have issued an audit completion report with follow-up letters. And we're in a position now where we can actually sign off the 2021 Statement of Accounts, Annual Governance Statement and the Narrative Report. So I was going to pause there, Chair, and recommend that we take that item first.
Any questions? No, everybody happy with that? Yeah, agreed.
Thank you, Chair. So moving into the 21-22 Statement of Accounts. Yes, we've managed to update the accounts in terms of amending for the infrastructure issue. However, there was a delay in the completion of the pension verification data that would allow Mazars, our external auditor, to sign off our pension valuation statements that are included in the accounts, which meant that we then had to consider the impact of the 2022 actuarial valuation in preparing the statement of accounts. We have done all that work now. We have updated the accounts, and whilst there's not necessarily a material difference in the bottom line of the actuarial valuation, the assets and liabilities can swing massively, and for the readers of the accounts, for those who do read the accounts, that's quite a significant and important issue. So whilst Audit Committee quite rightly challenged myself around a decision not to amend the draft statements for a change in the pension valuation, what I had to be cognizant of is what Nexus and NECA choose to do, because our accounts are consolidated with them, but indeed the gross materiality of the figures of assets and liabilities. So we have now made the changes to those drafts and await the SARS being in a position to be able to have confidence in the audit work on the data, providing the audit update on the pension fund. The SARS are very reliant on another external audit firm to do that work. So the risk is that continues to be delayed, which will delay us finalising the 21-22 statements. So it's for that reason, Chair, you had another recommendation to the report that the Mayor and Cabinet authorise the Chief Executive in consultation with the Director of Finance and the Mayor to agree any final amendments or changes to the North of Tyne Combined Authority 2021-22 Statement of Accounts and allow them to approve the accounts and annual governance statement for publication.
Thank you. Has everybody got any questions? That everybody's quite clear what's proposed, because it's not been written previously, it's just been read out. Yeah, everybody happy to approve that? Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Right, finished that, John. So the whole set of recommendations there again. We took the first one, but the other recommendations, we're happy with them as well. Yeah, thank you. That is the accounts approved. Right, North East Local Enterprise Partnership funding decisions update. Janice.
Thank you, Chair. This is the standard report that comes to Cabinet and the Mayor in respect of funding decisions the Local Enterprise Partnership has made since the last Cabinet. So it's for information, it advises you the investment decisions basically the LEP has made since the last report.
And all of those decisions are available online if anybody wants to look at them. I can't see anybody urgently wanting to go through that. Obviously, that's all discussed at the LEP board anyway. Which takes us to the end of the meeting. The next meeting is scheduled for 2 p.m. on the 25th of July, and the location of that will be published in good time before that. Other than that, there is no further items. So thank you very much, everybody, for your time today, and particularly for everybody who does all the work behind the scenes making this happen. Thank you.